Welcome. In front of me I have the Realme GT 2, and today I will go for unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. Now I'll be completely honest, I'm a little bit late to the party for this device. It is, it's been released on January 4th of 2022. It's 2023 now, so a little bit late, but anyway. Let's just quickly get a look at the box. Just a bunch of information right here. Realme GT 2, 120Hz refresh rate, E4, not exactly sure what that stands for. AMOLED display, Snapdragon 888. We have a Sony IMX766 cameras, and a fairly decent 5000 mAh battery. They say massive battery, and I will actually agree with that one. That is a pretty substantial battery size. Now also this one is the 12 gig RAM with 256 gigs of storage. So it is a pretty decked out device. Now, like I mentioned, I'm a little bit late to the party, so this phone, in terms of like processor and all that stuff, isn't necessarily on par with other devices that came out, well, now, like Samsung S23s and other phones that came out with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. This is running the 888. After 888 you had the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and then Gen 1 Plus, and then Gen 2. So we couple versions behind in terms of processor in here. So at this point this phone won't be as fast and as good as most of the other devices that have been released literally like this year, at the beginning of this year. Now, going back to this one, welcome to Realme family. Let's see what we get in the pocket right here. Just instructions, so kind of throw that to the side. Then we get the phone. Then under here we get a case. Pretty nice looking case, to be completely honest. It's a little bit scuffed up here from, I believe, this camera just resting on here. Hopefully this comes off or not, which is a little bit disappointing. Then we get a charger, Super Dart, and this is, does it say what the speed is? Let me quickly find it. I believe it's 66 watts. I'll try to show off the camera later on, so I'll take a picture of this, and hopefully we can then see if the camera can actually see what's written on here. Anyway, below that, or right here, we get a charging cable, Type A to Type C, a little SIM ejector, and yep, that's basically it. So let's just beat that to the side and move over to the phone. Okay, so it's turning on right now. So while it's turning on, let's quickly just get a look at the build right here. So we have a plastic back, or at least something that feels like plastic. Yep, so we have a plastic frame, glass front, or Gorilla Glass, more precisely. And it actually has a screen protector on here, so you can see this cutout right here around the camera. So that is a screen protector. Now we have, I can almost bet that this is plastic. It feels like it, it sounds like it, so yeah, I'm just gonna say that it's plastic. Also, it has a plastic frame, so it leads me to believe that if frame is plastic, then this is not glass. And we have volume rockers on the left side, close to like the middle of the body. Then on the other side we have our power button. At the top we got just a microphone right over here, and at the back, or at the bottom, we have another microphone. Then we have our speaker grill, charging port, and a tray for our SIM card and possibly SD card. Let's see. Nope, unfortunately there is no SD card. So just SIM cards, 2 of them. Now, Let's move over to the display so you can see it right now. This is a AMOLED display, 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10 Plus certified, and peak brightness of 1300 nits. So it can get pretty bright. Should have no problem using it obviously outside. I believe it probably can get even brighter with like direct sunlight. Yep, it just boosted up even higher. And it just lowered a little bit. Not sure if that was visible in the camera, but it did boost up a little bit higher. The 1300 nits is the peak brightness, so with the boost. Though I don't think this light that I just shined right here pushed it all that high. So possibly direct sunlight will have even a greater effect on it. Now, we have 6.6-inch display. It's 85.7% screen to body ratio and 398 pixels per inch with a resolution of 1080p by 2400. So the display right here is pretty darn good. Now, in terms of cameras at the back, we're looking at a triple camera setup. So we have a 15 megapixel wide sensor, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a sticker camera at 2 megapixel macro. I'm not even gonna talk about that one. And at the front, we have a 16 megapixel wide sensor. Now with the back ones, you can shoot at 4K 30 frames or 1080p 30 frames. Unfortunately, no 60, which is a little bit disappointing. And at the front, you can do 1080p 30. So there we go. Now, moving on into the internals of the device, we have, like I mentioned before, a Snapdragon 888. It's a 5G chipset, so you have that connectivity to 5 gigahertz like antennas and stuff. We also have a couple of variants of this device in terms of storage and RAM. At the very lowest end, we have 128 gigs of storage with 8 gigs of RAM. Then we have 256 gigs of storage with 8 gigs of RAM, and then 556 gigs, 256 gigs of storage with 12 gigs of RAM, which this is basically the version that I have right here. And all these options come with UFS 3.1 storage. So it's the last gen storage type that was pretty good. Now we have, I believe, UFS 4.0, which will be even quicker. Now the reason this might matter is when you're recording at 4K, even like 30 frames, faster storage will deal with this recording a little bit faster. So when you're recording it and you finish it, the device starts processing it, and when it's processing it, it uses your storage. The faster the storage, the faster the processing of it will go. And obviously, also processor has something to do with that as well. So that's why the storage might matter. In like typical circumstances, you probably won't notice any kind of storage bottleneck. This storage is still, for at least a phone, pretty good. And there we go. So yeah, it's pretty good. And even like when you're copying things over the USB Type-C from your computer or to your computer, the storage will not be a bottleneck. It will more be the connection through USB Type-A port. So something to keep in mind. So most of the times you will never actually encounter this that much, the bottleneck of storage. And moving on to the last thing, which is the price of this device. This is what I would consider a mid-range device, coming at $350 US. So actually this probably might be incorrect now, considering this is at this point an older device, so it could be cheaper, considering it is running Snapdragon 888 and was released at the beginning of 2022, so a year ago. So the price might actually be even cheaper than this, and honestly, it's what I would consider a mid-range device, but it does hold up pretty well. If it's lower priced than that, that's even better. So you getting even better value for a device that still, by all intents and purposes, try to be in a way a flagship killer, from what I can see. So they did sacrifice a couple things, like nicer back, so it's not glass, obviously, it's just plastic. It's a plastic frame. So build quality here might be just a little bit on the weaker side, but because of that, they managed to give you a decent amount of RAM, a good processor. At least at that time, that was a 888 Snapdragon, so obviously pretty good. A hefty battery and a really good display. So just these options right here are already pretty good, but the processor here also is on par with most of the flagships released at that time. So the phone is pretty nice even in 2023, especially at this price range. So yeah, with this being said, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.